Hey folks, John Dehart, your Keto Sensei, NutriKeto. Today we're going to talk about fat, and mostly the fat that you consume. So we've all heard this saying, is it healthy fat, right? And so I want to clarify what healthy fat is. And you might be surprised because it goes against the grain of what we've been taught. Healthy fat to me, guys, is saturated fat. So that is fat that's coming from meat, that's fat that's coming from eggs, that's fat that's coming from coconut oil. That is the healthy fat. And you know, for a long time, guys, butter, there's another great one, 100% fat, right? And saturated fat at that. You know, we've been told that saturated fat clogs your arteries and raises your cholesterol. And I'm just here to tell you guys that's bunk, you know, for the most part. And I'm going to get into that in just a second. But what are the fats that you really want to avoid? Trans fats, partially hydrogenated or hydrogenated vegetable oils. Those are known as trans fats, guys. Not much worse you can eat than that. And one of the very worst products that contains that is going to be your microwave popcorn. You know, it is a coronary in a bag. Let's just put it like that. So you want to avoid trans fats. I think the government is pulling those. They're in the process of those are being pulled from the shelves anyway, where they're not going to be allowed after, you know, what, 40 years of being told that it was healthy for us. There's now that oops that comes, you know, with the exclamation point. So trans fats, partially hydrogenated vegetable oils, bad. As a matter of fact, guys, any vegetable oil, canola oil, soybean oil, you know, all of these, corn oil, vegetable oil, all of those, horrible for you. You know, if you want to go with those processed oils, look for a reputable company that's selling olive oil. Look for avocado oil. Look for coconut oil, organic, extra virgin coconut oil. Those are all very good choices, along with butter. And guys, those typically all have one thing in common. They're pretty high in saturated fat. But here's what you need to know. Over and over again, as we talk about heart disease, you know, probably the best analogy that I've heard on the cholesterol argument. And first of all, your body produces most of your body's cholesterol, right? It's not from eating it externally, from the foods that you eat, like eggs. It's what your body actually produces. And you'd probably be interested to know that your brain is 15% cholesterol by weight. Cholesterol is so important to your body that virtually every cell in your body can produce its own cholesterol. You probably didn't know that. I didn't know it until I really started my keto research. So the whole cholesterol heart disease thing is a myth. Kind of the best analogy I've ever heard is you know, somebody that lives in a high crime rate, and so therefore the police are called very often. It's basically saying that the police are causing the high crime rate, right? Because they're called often. You know, cholesterol shows up for a reason, and that's because there's damage being done to your arteries. Cholesterol is there for the fix. It's to keep your artery from blowing out and to keep you from bleeding out. It is the patchwork that patches, you know, your arteries. And so, but what causes your arteries to be damaged? Well, guys, we've known this for a long time. The primary damager of your arteries is inflammation, right? And what causes the most inflammation in your body? Sugar, processed carbohydrates, and processed vegetable oils, right? All the things that we've been told we shouldn't have to worry too much about, you know, they're actually the things that are the driver behind heart disease. And so if we're going to talk about heart disease, and I know I'm kind of bouncing here a little bit, guys, but if you're really looking for a ratio, and I know there's, you know, it starts out with your overall cholesterol. That's, you know, measuring that, I guess it's good for fun, but it has no correlation whatsoever to heart disease. None, zero. So, and then they broke it down to LDL, HDL cholesterol, starting to get a little bit better. But even LDL isn't the demon that it's been made out to be, because there's a couple of different types of LDL. There's the puffy LDL, and then there's the more dense. So you really have to break it out into the particles of LDL. But if you're looking for the single best measure, of heart disease, what you're going to want to look at is your triglyceride to HDL ratio, right? And so that's the ratio. So really what you want is your triglycerides to be 100 or less. And I believe if you're a male, it's your HDL cholesterol to be 50 or more. So you want that ratio to be at least 2 to 1, if not even a little bit better of a ratio. And guys, how do you build your HDL cholesterol? Because there's some things that can interfere with it. So how do you build it? How do you get your HDL cholesterol to rise? And here's the answer, ding, 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 saturated fat. That's what raises your HDL cholesterol. That's why the whole saturated fat thing is an absolute myth. If you want to raise your HDL, and that is your best prevention against heart disease, you have to eat saturated fat. So guys, we can go into a lot of depth on this. Not going to do that on this video, but because it's really about what are healthy fats. Healthy fats are the ones that God made, right? They're your butters, they're your coconut oils, they're your meats, they're your eggs. That's the fats that you want to stick with. That's the true healthy fat. And I'm John Dehart, your Keto Sensei, NutriKeto. Stop by our website, NutriKeto.com, if you've got any other questions. Thanks for joining me.